Hey everyone, it's Flak. We already know a few of the tanks that will be featured in Battlefield 5. The Panzer IV, Tiger, Churchill, and Valentine. All of these appeared in the game's closed alpha, but their inclusion might also be the key to uncovering some of the other vehicles DICE has planned for Battlefield 5. There's a simple element that might effectively leak yet-to-be-revealed tanks in Battlefield 5, and that, of course, is the chassis. In World War II, a major facet of vehicle production was the ability to modify one chassis design to fit different roles. This saved time and money on production and development. It was not uncommon for countries to develop half a dozen vehicle variants based on the same chassis. While most of these were deliberate designs, others were more improvised. The practice led to some of the most interesting vehicles of World War II, although some of them were more effective than others. Ironically, the same process is likely to apply in Battlefield 5. Developers want to save money but provide a varied experience for players. Using the same chassis design in-game saves time and resources, just as it did back in the 1940s. I wouldn't be surprised if DICE adopts the same approach, since it makes perfect sense. The Germans were masters of this method, modifying damaged vehicles and original designs to suit their frontline needs. There are several different variants we could see in Battlefield 5 based on the Panzer IV and the Tiger I chassis. For the Panzer IV, one of the most requested vehicles players would like to see in Battlefield 5 is the Sturmgeschütz IV, affectionately dubbed the Stug. Although it's not the more prolific Stug 3, the model packed a punch in the assault gun role and as a tank destroyer. It featured the 7.5cm KWK-40 cannon, one of the most potent AT guns of the time period, and an MG-34 for infantry defense. There's also the Jagd Panzer IV, which was employed in a similar role. It carried the 7.5cm PaK-42 gun and an MG-34. Another tank destroyer based on the same chassis was the Nashorn, armed with the infamous 88mm PaK-43 gun. Unlike the other two vehicles, the Nashorn lacked a mounted machine gun for fighting off enemy infantry, which left it vulnerable. Meanwhile, the Hummel was built on the Panzer IV chassis as a self-propelled gun. Equipped with a 15cm howitzer and a light machine gun, the Hummel saw extensive service on the Eastern Front. The vehicle actually appears in some Battlefield 5 concept art and is often mistaken for the Nashorn. The Nashorn's 88mm gun had a muzzle brake which is clearly absent in this concept art. All of these vehicles had fixed superstructures and lacked proper turrets. This made them cheaper and easier to produce, but it did limit their effectiveness. Germany also built a number of mobile anti-aircraft vehicles based on the Panzer IV platform, the most iconic being the Wirbelwind. Armed with four 2cm Flak 38 cannons and an open quad mount, the Wirbelwind could also be employed against ground targets with withering firepower. Another is the Kugelblitz, designed near the end of the war in Europe. This mobile AA vehicle featured two 30mm cannons in an enclosed ball mount and an MG-34. Only a handful of prototypes were completed, though they did allegedly see service in the final days of the Reich. There's also the Brummbär heavy assault gun. Boasting a 150mm artillery piece and an MG-34, the machine was designed to support infantry directly. Like the larger Sturmtiger, the Brummbär rarely fulfilled its intended role, as it was introduced when Germany was already on the defensive. I'd say this vehicle is unlikely to appear in Battlefield 5, since it would be redundant with the Sturmtiger. The Tiger I chassis was also used as the base for a couple vehicles, most notably the aforementioned Sturmtiger, which already appears in Battlefield 5 as a reinforcement vehicle. It was equipped with a 380mm rocket launcher, MG-34, and a grenade launcher. On the British side, the Churchill tank spawned quite a few different variants. We've already actually seen 3 in Battlefield 5. The flame-throwing Churchill Crocodile, the AVRE with its 290mm spigot mortar, and the gun carrier with its fixed superstructure and 3-inch gun. So, what else could be added? DICE could bring out the Churchill 1, with a 2-pounder gun in the turret and a 3-inch hull-mounted gun. The arrangement is similar to many tanks at the beginning of World War II, like the American M3 Lee or the French Char B1. Interestingly, this would allow the driver to operate a smaller gun than the passenger of the vehicle, similar to how it works with the Tank Mark V present in Battlefield 1. This would provide some varied gameplay and allow players to work together as a crew. These saw action early in the war before being phased out in favor of later models. Meanwhile, the Valentine tank chassis played host to a variety of different designs. Among the more common was the Archer tank destroyer. Equipped with a potent 17-pounder gun and a fixed superstructure and a Bren light machine gun, the Archer was unique in a rather bizarre way. The gun actually pointed towards the rear of the vehicle. If used defensively, this was actually an advantage, since the Archer could fire and then retreat immediately without turning around. This reflected British doctrine of the time, which saw the Archer as more of a mobile anti-tank gun rather than what we now know as a traditional tank destroyer. The location of the gun reminds me of the Pudeloff Garford in Battlefield 1, which also had a rear-facing main gun, and which I'm still not sure if I should drive backwards or forwards. DICE could also add the Bishop self-propelled gun. Armed with a 25-pounder and a Bren light machine gun, the Bishop saw service in North Africa, a theater confirmed to feature in Battlefield 5. Like the Archer, the Bishop had a fixed superstructure and a limited gun traverse. Due to the nature of the large gun, the vehicle also had a high silhouette, which made it a juicy target for enemy tanks. Lastly, the British also fitted a 7 3/4-inch flame mortar to the Valentine's chassis. This device lobbed incendiary and phosphorus bombs nearly 400 meters. I'm not sure how likely this prototype is to be added since, well, we all love the mortar artillery trucks in Battlefield 1. Hopefully, DICE won't confine themselves to vehicles only based on these chassis. There are several other vehicles that I would love to see in Battlefield 5, like the German Hetzer tank destroyer or the 3-turreted Neubaufahrzeug. If we ever spot a Sherman tank in Battlefield 5 concept art or in a trailer, speculation will definitely run rampant since it was one of the most widely manufactured and modified chassis of the entire war. Around 24 variants and vehicles utilized the chassis, including rocket launchers, mine flails, and even a quad machine gun arrangement, but I'll save that for another video. In the meantime, which vehicles would you like to see added to Battlefield 5? Tell me in the comments. I'm running a couple giveaways at the moment over on Twitter, so be sure to check out @FlakFire Gaming for more details on those, and I've also been more actively streaming at twitch.tv/FlakFire. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, share, and subscribe. Make sure to hit that notification bell to get notified of the latest Battlefield 5 news. If you want to help out the channel, sharing this video on social media like Facebook or Twitter goes a long way. And as always, thanks for watching.